I'm Joe Haletky from First Lutheran in Palo Alto, and I've been involved with Lutherans Concerned for the last 7 or 8 years. And I've been asked often, as a straight, white, middle-class male, how come I take such an interest in the justice issues that Lutherans Concerned are concerned about. About 30 years ago, in the late 70s, we had a pastor who was a closeted gay man. And this pastor is probably the one person that's most important to my own spiritual formation. He got me very interested in ministry, provided a lot of opportunities to practice ministry, and even had me thinking about going to seminary at one point. A number of years after he left our congregation, he was up for a call in Southern California at a church and was turned down. The congregation was largely gay, but enough older members who never showed up there showed up to vote against him because they didn't want to call a gay man. By this time he was well out, and he was turned down, and he sort of disappeared from the scene for a couple of weeks. Shortly after that, I went to the local synod convention, which was over in Oakland, and Chuck Lewis, the San Francisco night minister, came up to me, knowing that I was a friend of Ron's, and said, "Have you seen him or heard from him lately?" And he told me the story about the turn down. And I went through the rest of the weekend at that synod assembly in a rage. And it would bubble up, the anger would bubble up every so often. I functioned as a delegate perfectly well, but I had to control this anger that kept on bubbling up, and I wondered, where is this coming from? And by the end of the weekend, I'd realized it was because this friend of mine who'd been so important to my own spiritual development had been hurt terribly, and perhaps had come to some harm. We didn't know at that point. Fortunately, he just took a little retreat and processed, and he was okay. I found out that about a week later, but at that point we didn't know, and all of a sudden the whole process of discrimination against LGBT people that wasn't necessarily my battle became personal. And a few years later, when I had the opportunity to join the board of Lutherans Concerned, I jumped at the chance and have been active ever since.